Yeah, first and foremost, give all praise to the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and his son, Mashak Yahushua, who the world knows, Jesus Christ. How about Shem Yahushua Barakatah? But what I want to do here, you're gonna put the link in the chat. And what we're gonna talk about today is, everybody's Russian icon crazy. That's one of the things here. Hopefully we can watch some of these videos. Hopefully the connection is up to par today. Hopefully the connection is up to par and we can watch a few of these things. But the Russian icons have just went crazy, and this is one of those things that we had for a long, ever since I've been in. And I remember a period where this Russian icon book, was thousands of dollars. Then it went down to like $20. So I'm like, who jacked that price up like that? It's when it's getting that stuff from eBay. But we bought the book for the pictures, and we were having these same dialogues that we see a lot of people having today, where they're saying, hey, well, we weren't saying that Putin was on us, but this is something that Israelites knew about, especially those within that One West and that Camp Nature. We knew about these icons for a long time, and that's about all we knew. All we knew is the pictures. And what I want to discuss today is, like, what is a Russian icon? What is it? What is it? Why is it an icon? Why isn't it just a painting? Why isn't it just a painting? What's so special about these? Why are they only in Russia? Why are they Russian? Why are they distinctive to Russia? And a lot of times, we don't care to know these things. We just want to see a picture, and if it look like a black person, look like somebody melanated, we running with it. We're gonna run with it. Let me share my screen here. Shalom, Ma.
Hey, Shalom. Hey, man. You must be This must be Tupac Day, brother.
What you mean?
The blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice, brother.
Let's see where we want to start at. Do I want to start with my? Well, we'll start. We'll start here. We're gonna get this one out the way. Well, no. Well, we here. Since we here. All right. And this dude here is gonna say some interesting things. Y'all can see my screen. Oh Lord.
Yeah, I see it, but it's buffering.
Oh. Let me see here. Can y'all see that?
Yeah, kind.
Nope, it's not gonna let us be great. Let me see if I close some of these up. How was I able to watch that video the other day? And today, we ain't got nothing. Wi-Fi. Okay, we supposed to be on what we supposed to be on. Oh, man. It's a time picture. And we buff. What I'm trying to show you with this is trying to show you how these things are how they produced. As you can see, he waited to paint in the face and the hand, and he's starting off with a dark color. But can y'all see me strolling? Can y'all see that strolling? You see how dark the face is?
Yeah, kind.
All right, they put that layer there first, and then ultimately they paint on top of that, and they continue to paint on top of it. And what we're gonna see is that well, I don't know if we're gonna be able to see it because we buffering so much. But what ends up happening is like none of this stuff that they're doing, they're painting this in a way, it's specific where they're painting these things. You know, to do the highlights at the end. They have to paint it a certain way. These people are almost like priests who do these paintings. And this is why they're called icons. Let me see if I can go here to these other ones, because they may be a little shorter. And we can get something out. Man, I wish I could have showed y'all this Joker here though. And they made on wooden boards. See if we can get this to play. But they're made on wooden boards to start out with, and then they have to paint it. Like I say, they paint it in a certain way.
Icons on wood is a multi-step. Many-layered process that is rich with symbolism.
Let me shut some of this stuff down. Even the gold, when they put the gold on the flake, they have to blow it. They blow it on, and that's supposed to be symbolic for the breath of life. They paint the sides of it brown because man came from the Adam, and they clamp it a certain way on the back to represent Noah. But well, y'all might have to just research it yourselves, man. I can't get these things to play. So what I'll do, let me see if I can. Is it saying something about mine? What I end up doing is Shalom, Mark.
Hey, shalom, fam.
What I end up doing is I may come back and do it, and show the videos and show how these things are made. But it definitely, the face starts with a chocolate undertone every time they have to paint it that way, and it's painted with a like egg yolk. Has to be painted with egg yolk. This is one individual Russian dude. Man, we have to maybe even come back to see if we can see, man, if y'all can hear what that joker said about the Sabbath. And he was treating Sunday as the Sabbath. And he said we had to have beers. The Russian icon painter, this dude here. If y'all can find that on YouTube, y'all can check that out on your own time. And he gonna tell you what each of the elements mean and how they have to fast, how he can't eat nothing or drink nothing while he's doing it, and the reasons for the icons being that they were used for prayer. The icons are used for prayer. These are wooden paintings. And I can see how my screen is just moving slow. It's but it was doing good at first. I don't know. But it was used for praying. And so when you see like Vladimir pulling it out, it's because they're about to pray before they have this meeting. These are really idols that they're painting. And that's how they treat them. These things are sacred to them. But there were millions of them that were made that end up getting broken and destroyed during the time the Soviet Union ended up splitting. I had a video too with GMS, and GMS was talking about the Dark Ages and the Renaissance, and we speak on that, and we don't really know what we're talking about, to be honest. So we're just gonna do some brief history on the Renaissance, on the Dark Ages. Why were they called the Dark Ages? Why is it the Renaissance period? What is the Archaic period? And when did Rome split? And how do we got the Roman and the Orthodox churches here? Let me see if I should be able to share my screen here. I'm just gonna read these articles here. All right, the dividing of the Roman Empire into the East and the West. You see it here on the screen. Like I say, if the GMS video, because GMS we're inside of a Russian icon museum. Actually, it's a museum in Maryland, and they were they were there, and they were looking at the things, and they were saying, well, man, they covering this stuff up. You could see that this was an afro, but they covered the afro up. And it's funny that they're looking at them and they're saying, well, these folks covered it up. It didn't look like this at first. And then we're looking at those same images and we're saying something completely different. But you can check out that GMS video too. You just type in Russian icons. You'll see a lot of this stuff, man. Joe's been doing videos almost 20 years. I think the latest one I seen was 15 years ago. And then you see that individual actually painting one. You can understand with it being on wood and then it having that brown undertone while we saying that that's us. Dividing Roman Empire into the East and the West, growing into one of the largest empires in human history, and an incredible achievement. The Roman kingdom, then republic, and then empire gained a status through more than 1,000 years of expansion, conquest, trade, and eternal development. Eventually, Rome became so large that the government had difficulty ruling and protecting its vast territory. Many tribes were moving into Roman lands and could not be stopped due to weakening Roman leadership and political instability. In 286 CE, Emperor Diocletian decided to divide Rome into two sections to try to stabilize the empire. For 100 years, Rome experienced even more divisions until the empire was finally divided in 395 CE. and became the Western Empire and the Eastern Empire. The division changed Roman life and government forever. There were now two emperors in each empire, and they governed independently. The capital of Western Empire was Rome, and the capital of the Eastern Empire was Constantinople. Following this split, the Eastern Empire thrived. Constantinople was well protected because it was on a peninsula that could easily be easily defended. It was also located on the frontiers of the empire, allowing imperial armies to respond more easily to external attacks and threats. The Eastern and Western empires had similarities and differences. They both considered themselves Roman and celebrated the history of Rome, although they governed separately. Their forms of government were similar, and they enforced some of the same laws. However, as time went on, their differences grew, mainly in the aspects of religion, language, and culture. Romans in the Western Empire spoke Latin, while those in the Eastern Empire spoke Greek. The Western Empire was Roman Catholic and practiced traditional Roman culture, while the Eastern Empire was dominated by the Eastern Orthodox religion and had a more diverse culture influenced by different people. The Western Empire suffered from multiple invasions by barbarian tribes and eventually collapsed in 476. When you see Paul say there's no distinction between Jew or Greek or Scythian and barbarian, these were barbarians had tribes. These were actually people that had tribes that were fighting and bucking against Rome, throughout their history. Actually, too, when Paul comes from that shipwreck and gets bit by the serpent that jumped out of the fire, he's there talking to barbarians. Those are the people that were, kind of nice to him at first, and they thought he was cursed that snake ended up biting him. All right, these are tribes of people. The Eastern Empire, also known as the Byzantine Empire, survived almost 1,000 more years before being overtaken by the Ottoman Empire in 1453. Ottoman Empire is Turkish. All right, it's the Turks. Ottoman Empire is the Turks. Maybe we get into that one day. But the Eastern Empire, where we get the Eastern Orthodox Church and we got the Roman Catholic Church. The Eastern Orthodox, I think that's where that Russia and these icons kind of stem from. But the icons have a particular period between, I think it's the 13th century and the 16th century is when they started painting those. Archaic Greece period. Was a period in Greek history lasting from 800 BC to Second Persian invasion in Greece in 480 BC. Following the Greek Dark Ages and succeeded by the Classical period. In the Archaic period, Greeks settled across the Mediterranean and the Black Sea as far as Marsilia in the west and Trapezus in the east. And by the end of the Archaic period, they were part of a trade network that expanded the entire Mediterranean. And so, I heard the GMS brothers, they were saying that the Dark Ages were because of Black Plague. Because of the Black Plague, and that I've heard that, and then I've heard people say because the people were black. That's why it was called the Dark Ages, because blacks ruled Europe at this particular time, and they called it Dark Ages. And we can't just say that. You'll have to establish that. You have to show evidence of that. And we see a lot of pictures I'll show y'all that too, called Blackamoor. Like a Blackamoor pictures. And we just got to stop with the picture shift. The Archaic period began with a massive increase in the Greek population and significant changes that rendered the Greek world at the end of the 8th century entirely unrecognizable from its beginning, according to Anthony Snodgrass. The Archaic period was bounded by two revolutions in the Greek world. It began with the structural revolution and drew the political map of the Greek world and established polis, the distinctively Greek city-states, and it ended with an intellectual revolution of the classical period. The Archaic period developments in Greek politics, economics, international relations, warfare, and culture. It laid the groundwork for the classical period, both politically and culturally. It was in the Archaic period that the Greek alphabet developed. The earliest surviving Greek literature was composed. Monumental sculpture and red figure pottery began in Greece, and the hoplite became the core of Greek armies. Go ahead.
Can you change the screen? Are you still
Oh, my
reading?
bad. Shalakia, yeah. In Athens, the earliest institution of democracy was implemented under Solon, and reforms of Cleisthenes at the end of the Archaic period brought in Athenian democracy, and it was during the classical period. And it was during the classical period. In Sparta, many of the institutions credited to the reforms of like Krugus. I've seen us say we Spartans also. The Spartans were introduced during the Archaic period. The region of Messenia was brought under Spartan control. Helotich and introduced as Philophonician League was founded and made Sparta a dominant power in Greece. All right, so that was Archaic period from BC 800 until the Second Persian in 480. Let me see here. What's this? The Dark Ages here. All right, and like I said, I didn't do. We didn't go heavy into them. Just googling basic stuff, man. And that's one of the things now, man. We have the information. You can go look these things up. It's just, do we want to look it up, or do we just want to believe what people are telling us? Because it sounds good, and sometimes that's be the case. Sometimes it sounds good. We're not gonna challenge what sounds good. Let me see here. Why is it called the Dark Ages? The Dark Ages were between the 5th and 14th centuries, lasting 900 years. And then we saying we ruled. And then when we saying black, what are we saying? What are we like? Is that us? Is it Israelites? Or is it melanated people? What are we saying when we say that? 5th to the 9th to the 14th centuries. This 900 years. So if we taking and saying that, hey man, we these people and we were ruling this place for 900 years, it kind of destroys a lot of other stuff, man. That whole West African thing, you got to throw that in the trash. Or it's a remnant. Like how do you put this? How do you make this harmonize with the Deuteronomy 28 in the transatlantic slave trade? When you're royalty for 900 years in Europe. The timeline falls between the fall of the Roman Empire and the Renaissance. After that came the Renaissance, the rebirth. If y'all watched the GMS video, if I was able to play it, y'all willing, man, I try it again, and maybe I close some of these tabs up and eventually maybe it'll play. But what they were saying was, did the Renaissance mean rebirth? Which it does mean rebirth. But it was because they were able to paint everything white all over again. Everything was black, and we was in the Renaissance period is symbolic of them painting everything white again. And we'll get into that too. The Dark Ages were between the 5th and the 14th centuries, lasting 900 years. Timeline falls between the fall of the Roman Empire and the Renaissance. It was called the Dark Ages because many suggested this period saw little scientific and cultural advancement. However, the term doesn't stand up to much scrutiny and many medieval historians have dismissed it. Francisco Petrarca was the first person to coin the term Dark Ages. He was an Italian scholar of the 14th century. He called it the Dark Ages as he was dismayed at the lack of good literature at that time. The classical era was rich with the classical era, which we were talking about, the archaic era. The classical was rich with apparent cultural advancement. Both Roman and Greek civilizations had provided the world with contributions to art, science, philosophy, architecture, and political systems. Granted, there were aspects of Roman and Greek society and culture that were unsavory, like gladiator combat and slavery, to name a few. But after Rome's fall and subsequent withdrawal from power, European history is portrayed as taking a wrong turn. As patriarchs, this parchment of the Dark Age of literature, other thinkers of the time expanded this term to encompass this perceived dearth of culture in general across Europe between 500 to 1400. These dates are under constant scrutiny by historians as there is a degree of overlap in dates, cultural and regional variations, and many other factors. The time is often referred to with terms like Middle Ages and feudal period, another term that is now contentious amongst medievalists. Later on, as more evidence came to light after the 18th century, scholars started to restrict the term Dark Ages to a period between 5th and 10th century. This period became referred to as the earlier ages. Labeling a large period as a time, this is busting the Dark Ages myth. As unsophisticated is, however, a sweeping generalization in general regularly considered to be incorrect. Indeed, many argue that the Dark Ages never truly happened. In a time of epitomized by extensive increases in Christian ministerial activity, it appears early Middle Age kingdoms lived in a very interconnected world. In the early English church, for instance, relied heavily on priests and bishops who had trained abroad. In the late 7th century, the Archbishop Theodore founded a school at Canterbury that would go on to become a key center of scholarly learning in Anglo-Saxon England. Theodore himself had originated from Tarsus in southeastern Asia Minor. It's where Saul Paul was from, now central Turkey, and had trained in Constantinople. But from what they're saying here is that they're saying the Dark Ages got its name because it was a period where nothing was really happening. They don't really see a lot going on, a lot of advancements going on in structures and buildings, in language, in philosophy, and so they call it the Dark Ages. He had a Renaissance. Let me close that.
Hey, Shalakia.
Go ahead, brother.
Hey, and I think one of the problems is where we get our resource, what we call credible resources, right? Because this other literature kind of dispute what Google's saying, and I think that's where the problem is starting to lie at. Depending on what you consider as authoritative, not biblical, but just what you consider as this is true and what you consider not true. I know I was talking to a brother. He told me slavery never happened. And I said, well, where you get that from? And he started trying to cite his sources where slavery, where's the ships? Where's this? Where's that? And so now it become problematic. Now they're saying that slavery didn't happen. But like I was telling him, my grandma was born in 1913. Her grandfather was a slave. So you can't tell me it didn't happen. So now, sometimes we got to revisit history because some history is being wiped away. So it depends on what, like I got a what's the name of this book right here? I got a book called, let's see, it's called The Middle Ages by Benjamin of Tadia. and this was possibly it's dated like 13th, 14th century. So a lot of stuff it depends on where we get our history from, and so where we gonna keep going back and forth is if we can kind of narrow it down what is authoritative and what is not. Like you're saying, what is the methodology of saying what is true and what is not. And so until we can do that, I think we're gonna always have this back and forth of what GMS saying, what IUIC saying, and et cetera, man. But good point, brother.
Yeah, the problem is I never seen the other evidence. Just like somebody can say it never happened, or you could say it happened. But one would have to present their cause. And so I never seen the other side of the stuff like they call it the dark ages because the people were black. That was enough for me at the time where I would say, that makes sense. I know there was a time called dark ages, and I see some people around there that look dark. That's in these pictures. Now I don't read the captions of the picture. Anybody ever seen? You know what? We bought the and I should have brought that. That I got a Russian icon book, but it's a page in there that we bought it for. And the white dude is over there, look like he's painting over something. He's painting one of the icons and he's looking back.
Okay.
We never read the caption. Why we never read the caption? Why we never read what the book say he doing?
Well, I'm trying to remember because it's so long, but I think some of us have read the capture. I'm trying to remember what I know what picture you're talking about. I gotta remember. I gotta go back and visit it, man. But
we'll pull that out and we'll pull use the first Maccabees 3 and 48, and we'll put that thing together. But there's it's not a picture book. It's a picture book, but like a lot of this stuff I'm telling you about the icon, it's in the book. And how they painted and how they have the instructions they have to do. It's just we don't read the book. I didn't read the book. That's why I'm learning this stuff as I did this little basic research a few hours ago.
Right. And like I say, it depends on what resources we using. Like what sources is credible. That's the point I was making. Like what source is credible? Like is Google at this point credible? Is this our source of is this our source that we go based solely on Google, or do we need to research it further to make sure that Google is credible? You know what I mean? That's all I'm saying. And so when a lot of times, like especially with Bishop and things, he go into a lot of older books that's saying, and like as far as for me, as far as the Dark Ages is concerned, I don't think even when I did my research on the Moors, the Moors had in certain areas of England did have some kind of rulership, whether it was the whole thing or partial. But as I did my research on the Moors, all of them weren't Israelites. It was a collective. I think Israel was still more into slaves. The Jews at that time were still slaves. Whoever you say them Jews were, they were still slaves. So I don't think that was us. But it was a period. If we go into the sub-Saharan slave trade and all that stuff, I think it was a period of black people. I ain't gonna say it was ruling, but a period of bargaining. They had their foot at the table. You know what I mean? And so, but we can dive more into who these people were. But yeah, it's certain things that I read in this book here. It's kind of a little different from what I'm hearing from Google. But man, keep doing what you're doing.
Right. And so we have to present that. If there's a different stance in certain sources, then we present those sources. But I just never heard it, to be honest. Just like I'm gonna tell you another one. The Anthony dude that painted or Leonardo da Vinci painting Caesar Borgia. I've never seen that source.
Oh, you talking about you talk about Leonardo DiCaprio, or what was it? What was the other one?
Leonardo da Vinci or
No, it
Michelangelo.
was Michelangelo and Leonardo da Vinci.
Right. Painted that Caesar Borgia to look like Christ. I never found that source. I never seen that. And so if I pull up something that says different, then that's all I have, because I don't have anything else. You see what I'm saying? Like, until we have both sides, and then we can weigh it, but we can't even weigh it until we have both sides. That we have a side that's saying the Dark Ages. We just have to find that, and that should be on Google. It should be on Google that the Dark Ages was because dark people rule Europe. You should find something, or at least a book or something to go that way. And until we do have that, then we can't even weigh which source holds more weight. It's just because we don't have that source. Until we have that source. Go ahead, Shalaki.
Oh yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like, if you Google right now, you Google Jesus Christ, why a white image coming up on Google, like a white image, like a white image come up if you Google right now Jesus Christ. Just don't, no color, don't even ask what color he is. Just say Jesus Christ, and a white image will come up. All I'm saying is a lot of this is partial. A lot of this information is partial, and so that's why I'm saying a lot of times, even like I was going to do a video last week about the about what Putin had put, but I couldn't see both sides of the story. Like, I'm trying to figure out, like, is this AI or is this actually Putin? And I couldn't find enough information. You know what I mean? And so sometimes this stuff just partial. You know what I mean? Some things Google represent is based on information that was entered in, but not necessarily that's the case. And so that's why with Google, sometimes I take it with a grain of salt. I did a Chat TV thing with Google, and some of the information is different. Like, if you add Chat TV something, chat and ask Google, the information gonna come up different. So there's a lot of this stuff partial, but I'm not saying they're wrong. It's just that some things we gotta dig a little deeper to make sure it's right.
Do you think that a black person ever painted Jesus? Like,
Do what?
historically, do you think you got black painters that ever painted Jesus?
That's hypothetical, but I'm sure.
I'm just saying, what do you think? I ain't really we can't put a heads on. I'm just thinking, like, what do you think? Like, do you think there's black painters that were painting Jesus like in the Renaissance period or 300 AD?
Well, I would think so, and the reason why is because most people gonna have a God that represent them. That's like, I can remember back in the 70s having black Jesus in a hood. Yeah, like, you would literally have a black Jesus. Before that, no, I'm talking about a person that was more like conscious or aware of imagery. Yeah, you'll see black images, and then you'll see Martin Luther King, you'll see JFK, and you'll see Jesus. And some of them was black images. So I'm sure you probably had those artists trying to represent a God that looks like them. You know what I mean? And so if I had to say a yes or a no, I'll say yes. Probably so. That probably what would be happening. Um, you know, for me, But I feel that that's probably right though. Like, that's because everybody do have a God that looks like them.
Right.
Like,
So why
every other culture.
would we think that the Russians will paint a black Jesus?
I don't think the Russians did it. Like, what we kind of do is kind of look at current things, like who's there at this period. I don't know if Russians did that. I think, when you look at Germany, It's a lot of things, even in Germany, and brother Dion probably can contest to this. It's a lot of things in Germany that they don't have the same mindset of race as America. Like it'd be two different ways the way they think. So I ain't gonna say black people did it, but if white people did do it, they probably didn't have the same construct of race. You see what I'm saying? Like how we look at race today. Like it wasn't. I don't feel it was that way. Things were more political than anything. And I believe that the early first century church was dark-skinned, melanated people. So yeah, they was willing to follow that. But I don't think the construct of race was as it is today. White supremacy in America have turned race to where it is, the way we feel, the way we trying to struggle for an identity is because this captivity was like no other. You know what I mean? This captivity felt different. This captivity made sure that they reigned supreme, unlike the Babylonians, and like this captivity is just a little different. And so the way we construct the race as it is today, I don't feel that that's how it was back then. The way we look at race, the way we look at black and white. You know, you even with Putin saying what he's saying, you seeing white people coming out and yeah, they got a problem with it. I mean, they got a problem. Even if it's whoever we say it is, they're saying it. Yeah, white people all on TikTok with a problem with it because that racism is a heart thing, man. It's in their heart. And so Israel, well, right, wrong, and indifference, Israel been stripped away from something. We've been stripped away from something. So we trying to figure it out. So it's a process. Like even the way we starting to come into certain understanding, we didn't always been that way. It's a process. But yeah, I think the whole the construct of race, to answer for your initial question, do I think black people did that prior, prior to the Renaissance or during the Renaissance? Yeah, probably so.
Hey, Shalakia.
Okay, go ahead.
First of all, this article you brought up, it totally sounded like this cat was just giving you his opinion on what was going on during the Dark Ages. That didn't sound like he had no sources either. Like he was merely stating some things that he thought. He said he didn't think that there was many cult advances in certain aspects of culture during that period. So he sounded like he was a little biased, in my opinion. And when you see that cat painting that white hand painting that black that Christ image, you can I can like sense in my spirit that these cats was instructed to paint it where you couldn't tell that it was. Otherwise, why would you put the white over the? Why would you put the light colors over the dark colors? Like if they had the Bible then, you know, if they knew that how he was described, why would you lighten this up after you put that brown paint on it? See what I'm saying? So I believe that there was all a plot and a plan to even just to make it not for sure that he, you know what I'm saying, like to make people be on the fence that this could be a white man type thing. And as far as the other question, I'm 100% sure that somebody painted the image of Christ, whether it was on a brick wall, a concrete type of thing, and they might have used plants or whatever. But that trash probably got destroyed uh, during the diaspora. But they're not gonna let that image last. You know what I mean? Every hero, every great person of color has been destroyed, and when they die, they try to take his name down. So That is a part of our the history, and that's never gonna change. So I believe that he definitely was painted, but they would not let that image live. Somebody probably got it, but these images right here, like this one you got on the screen right now, those
Right.
images speak volumes. The little short afros and the dark skin, but um, yeah.
And that's why I have this, that's why I was trying to show these things in these videos, so you can really see them. Um, the dude from that article, we actually read somebody's name who coined the phrase "dark ages," allegedly. Who's saying that he coined the phrase "dark ages." And the reason why he coined the phrase was because there was no history there. Now, if we're saying somebody coined the phrase because the people were black, then we have to find out who coined that phrase, or find some, or try to at least try to say, well, nah, he said it because of this. That particular dude said it because of this, but I never even heard nobody say who coined the phrase and whatnot. And like I say, we're not
It
those
was
people,
Jesse
man.
Jackson.
We're not the unfortunately, we're not the researchers. We're not going in the caves. We're not we're dealing with pictures from the 13th century. All of these Russian icons are made and developed in the 13th century through the 16th century. There were millions of these pictures out here, and like I was saying, these are developed with wood. They ain't just regular paintings. These are idols to these people. They have to be blessed by a priest. You light a candle in front of it and you pray like facing sideways to it. This is why these things are in museums. This is why you see the Catholic priests having these things. This is why you see Vladimir Putin placing it out on the table before they have a meeting so they can pray to it. This is part of Eastern Orthodox Christianity, Eastern Orthodox Catholic, the Eastern Orthodox Catholic vessel that some forms of Christianity came out. Christianity that's why you had the Reformation period, or the Reformation Church, because they came out of that. They kind of left a lot of those things. And then you had the Roman Catholic Church. And I want to say the Ethiopians kind of developed a little something from that Eastern Orthodox. But I have to look into that some more. But that's the thing. We don't, we not even having those discussions. We just having Roman Catholic Church. We don't even know why the split. That's why I was reading about why the split happened, why they having a Renaissance period. We're not the historians. It's just I know, we want it to be the blackity black. We want some black researchers to go and tell us, or we want some black art, but we weren't. I don't think we were painting. I don't think we were painting iconoclasm. I think this was a thing that was for Russia. I think Russia. This was something that was just done in Russia.
And
And this why
Shalakia,
they go ahead.
I'm sorry. And we
Hey,
also had the
Salakia,
law.
and
We also had,
that's what I'm saying. Even when you go to Sir Anthony what his name, Sir Anthony I want to say Newton, but I don't think that's his last name. A lot of them had different prepositions. It wasn't like it ain't about just black people. Uh,
Prepositions on what?
Different prepositions about what like on different topics. Like it's not one preposition. Like these things are like Brother Dion was saying. Like the information that you displaying, it seemed more opinionated than facts, right? Like it seemed like this someone opinion of what took place. And so when you go to Sir Anthony Johnson about King James, or even like when you go into Martin Luther, or it was always different prepositions of depending on what point of view that or preposition that you held. So even if we say we exclude black people out of the conversation because majority of the time we were slaves, um, these are it was different people with different prepositions. I done heard like even when you talk about the Byzantine Empire, I done seen prepositions where that the Renaissance didn't happen to after that period, like right after right
After
during
what period?
the Byzantine Empire.
The Byzantine Empire
Yeah,
was the Eastern Orthodox, was the East Empire
right. But
when
I'm
it was
saying
divided into the West and the East.
I get it. But what I'm saying is they saying that the Renaissance period came during that time, during the time of during the
The
time of
Byzantine Empire was over 1,000 years.
ago, right?
No, it lasted a
For
thousand
1,000 years.
years.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
it lasted from the 4th century all the way to the 14th century.
right, and so but it was what they were saying that this is a part. I heard I was listening to it today. The dude, it was like Edomite was talking about the period of the Dark Ages when it appeared during that whatever period that war was taking place around the 13th century. That this is where this is where the Dark Ages appeared at. You see what I'm saying? And
Yeah,
so
but what are the Dark Ages?
this is what I'm saying. I hear different. The point I was making is because I think really right now it's going to be semantics, right? Like what I see or what I have read that what the dark age is to what you want to say. So I don't play semantics with that. But I was for the period where the point I was saying is people have different opinions about when this thing took place. Like it's nothing concrete on when these things was happening. All of them, everybody's all over the place. It's not just black people. I'm saying even among white people, they don't agree to that.
Right.
Like
And
even among
I don't want us to think that I'm saying something.
right,
I'm just reading Wikipedia.
right.
I'm just reading Wikipedia. I ain't saying nothing. It ain't my opinion.
No. I'm not saying
I'm
your
just
opinion.
reading these particular sources. Now
No,
we
no, no.
don't agree with it. We just gotta bring the source. We can't. You're arguing with Wikipedia. You ain't arguing with me.
No. It's not an argument. What I'm saying is, even like Wikipedia put its sources right at the end of the paragraph. All we got to do is look at it. If we pull up the source, it tells Wikipedia show you where it get its source from.
Right, but how we gonna have a problem with it till we find another source?
Right.
I
So
like I don't
that's
know
the
what
point.
we.
That's the point. Once we pull up the first source, and then we can see what the opposing view is. Like that's what I'm saying. Once we find out, like if I say something, and then the word go out. First of all, you got to understand my point of view, and then you'll see that Brother Phineas had a different point of view about that. But first, you got to find out what's the original source. You know what I mean? But we can't we speak about Israel speaking in absolutes, but we can't in return do the same thing on stuff that we read and that we haven't really did thorough research on whether it's true or not. That's all I'm saying. Like we because we beat up on Israel a lot, and Israel just trying to find a place. I feel.
Like let me ask you this. Let me
Uh-huh.
see if we could man. We'll see here. On this particular, we'll see here with GMS here. We'll see that while he's standing by this sign,
Mm-hmm.
that it says between 13. He actually reads this.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, it's saying between the 13th century and the 16th century.
Okay.
If, like, am I? And he's inside a museum.
Mm-hmm.
Do I not supposed to believe that? Like, what are we? You know what I'm saying? Like, what are we say? We like, should we say, okay, well, this was done by Russian icons from the 13th century to the 16th century?
Mm-hmm.
He's pointing at the sign. He's reading it out from the sign, and everybody's in agreement. I don't know, like, what's the opposing view?
Right.
I don't know. Like, and then we'll have to say, is there an opposing view? You can see you point at the 13th century, 16th century.
All right. Of Esau coming into power in the later end.
And he said that was the Esau came back into power in the 16th century.
Right.
And now I know some other history. See, I can say, well, Jokers was going on the slave trade in the 14th century. Like, the Arabic slave trade is well and pumping at its highest.
Right.
And we saying, well, now Esau just got back into power, and we into power. We in power right there between those 3 centuries. That don't sound right to me.
Right.
That we in power and we in slavery.
Right. Right. And let me ask you a question. Like, how do we look at, like, when we look at Esau being in power, what does that actually mean? Like, for an example, if we said that, as black folks were slaves, but then you also see parts where some black folk wasn't slaves, right? Does that mean when you say that a particular group was a slaves, does that mean in its totality, or that just mean in parts?
The
And sometimes I think,
problem is black folks.
okay,
Us using the term black folks.
right.
You have to define that first.
That's my point.
Because somebody has a darker hue or has melanin, that's not his nationality.
I agree.
That's not who those particular people are. Just like the Moors, there are some Moors that are dark.
Right.
All right, but there are some Moors that are, from the Turkish, are Turkish, who we know to be like Arabic or boxwood.
Yeah. Yeah. And like that's what I'm saying. A Moor, that's not even a nationality. Like, these things ain't even nationalities. There's no such thing as what nation do Moors belong? That's not a nationality. That's like saying a blood. You know what I mean? We confuse the two. That's not even a nationality. That's like a Greek. That's a fraternity, if anything. You know what I mean? Those are not even nationalities, and I'm in agreement with you. I'm not debating.
Right. It ain't, because like I say, it ain't. I'm just presenting this information. Like, I got this GMS. This GMS 5 years ago at the museum.
Right.
Alexander's time.
And they
So
now watch. Can y'all hear what he's saying?
Barely.
Somebody gets evicted out of a home, and when a new family moves in, they're not going to keep those old pictures up. They're going to put their own pictures of themselves, and this is what they've done with iconoclasm. Is if you look at the afros that they once had at one point, and then when you can take a magnifying glass, you can see how the paint is more smeared, it's more drawn in together. And if you look at their garments, okay, their garments are in pristine condition. But now, as you look at their faces, you can see this individual here had an afro at one point. They all did. They look like they have little light bulbs on their heads for hair. Okay? And this is why when you read the description of the Lord, it says he had a head like a wolf. Okay?
And so he's sitting in front of it saying they repainted it. That they painted over it and they changed it and they made it white. And it's like, man, like, and they trying to find, trust me, you go watch this video. They're trying to find the best pictures they can find to show that it's, they painting black people, but they having trouble. They having trouble finding those pictures.
Yeah. So let me ask you a question. You had said earlier where these, like, the Russians is taking these black images and bowing down their deities. And you said that's the Eastern Orthodox. And so what happened on the West? Like if that's the sentiments of where a lot of these folks that's on the West came from the East, even though I know it was a division way before even the initial the final division. It was divisions way like maybe like 13th century. This was going on with the church. What happened? Why don't the West bow down to a black image? Like we see it done on the,
I don't think the images are black.
I mean, dark or whatever you want, but we know we know they're not the same images that's on the West. And these images, a lot of these images that the West have, how far does they go back? Like we know that the images that the West have is Eurocentric, European, blue eyes, blonde hair. And so why is it such a disconnect? Like why is these people even if whatever they not the same images? Why does the West have different images? What was
This
the
is
purpose?
this is Russian icons here.
Right, I got it.
You see, like he dark, like that looks dark, and that might be enough for some of us to say, you know what, that's a black man right there. But that's iffy for me.
Yeah. No, what the point I'm making is
Even him, he looked like.
why do the
You saying
West
why
do the West
do they got a blue-eyed Jesus?
right? Why do the West
Right.
not just the blue-eyed Jesus, but the blue-eyed angels, the blue-eyed God, the blue-eyed everything?
Right.
What is the purpose of that? Like we understand that the icon situation exists and it's a little iffy based on the information that's left behind. But why do the West worship the white image? What was that purpose?
Why do they worship a white image? They
Yeah.
don't worship that image like they doing in the iconoclasm, in these Russian icons.
You really think so? I don't seen him kiss the feet
You done seen them kiss the feet or what?
of Jesus. I done seen him. The image of if it's an image of
You
Christ,
talking about the Catholic Church, the
Catholics,
priests?
the Catholics, the priests. I done seen if they have them images in the churches. I done seen people bow down and worship the image. I done seen them bow down to it. Even when you go into baseball and that image of Christ on the cross, they kiss it. That is a form of idolatry. Like what's that all about? Like, you see what I'm saying? Like they do bow down and worship to the image. They do bow down and worship to the white image. And so I'm saying, like, what is that about? Like,
It's something different. It's not this. It's not that this has to be painted on a particular wood. It has to be painted using egg yolk. It has to be layered a particular order. You everything symbolic. The creation, the person who's doing it has to fast and sing prayers. It's not what this is. This started in the 13th century to the 16th century, allegedly in Russia.
Yeah, it's tradition. I get it.
This is their thing.
Right. It's tradition.
And this is why you can buy these things for $20, $10.
Right.
Like, but for them, it's treasure. But for us, if they bring them over here, jokers, if you go back to one video I had up with the dude who does it, he said initially, man, he was getting them out of thrift stores, and they burnt a lot of them when the Soviet Union ended up being destroyed, and that union ended up breaking up. They destroyed a lot of them because there were millions of them around. Now it's only like, it's still like 500,000. They said maybe in the next 50 to 100 years they'll have it back up to that number. But these are produced differently. This is their thing. That's why I'm saying that's to me why I don't feel like it's for us or had anything to do with us, because this is their thing for that particular period. And I don't think we were dealing with the Eastern Orthodox Church. And these people aren't just like what I'm looking at right now. You see how these pictures are the same people? They painting the same. Some of these are actually like Catholic saints or whatever that they're painting. Or painting their priests at that particular time, or painting themselves in some of these images. All of them aren't Christ. Even there's one famous one that has she's holding baby Jesus, I guess, and she got 3 arms. And the dude breaks down, the significance and why they painted with 3 arms. But I don't think they had black people in mind when they was doing this. Now we could say, okay, they think Jesus is white. Well, why paint him? Why have some that's white and why have some that's black? If you know he black, why not have them all black?
And Shalaka, that's what my point I was making, because that's where white supremacy kicks in. Like when you go back to conquering the ministry of the missionary trips. For me, that was all about conquering. That wasn't about giving A's, because giving A's over and over again is just having people dependent on you, right? It's not really about giving A's. It's about that you really act in such a given way that people will like you or trust you. So it's to build trust. So then all your hope is in them. And so that's where I'm saying about the way we look at supremacy or white supremacy. We have to do we agree that America deal with white supremacy or not? Like, do we feel that?
Yeah, but I'm not even talking about America. All I'm talking about is the Russian icons.
Right. But that's
Russian.
But we talking about tradition. That's just tradition
of Russia.
Right, that is a tradition of Russia. But that's what I'm saying. But America has its own tradition. Like every community or every country might have their own tradition.
Russia, you think America painted a black Jesus?
Do I think America? That's just not their tradition. They painted a white Jesus. That's their tradition.
Yeah, that's my point. They not doing both. They gonna paint it white. If they want it to be white, they just gonna make it white.
But we gotta understand the way white supremacy works. Like those white images that's in Russia now, those things came later on down the line. That wasn't an issue. That's once America ruled, and everybody started looking at America as being that country, that Babylon that sit on many waters. When people start, just like when you go into China or you go into Japan, you think you don't have a white image of Jesus? And why only you have white or Chinese Jesus? Why you don't have no ethnicity in these other countries? That's just conquering. That's how conquer works. You'll have both images. You go in China, you'll see a white image in China. You go in Japan, you'll see a white image in Japan. And you might see a Chinese image in China or a Japanese image in Japan, but you will never see no other ethnicity there. You won't see Jesus Jesus in Japan. That's just American dominancy. That's just the way they conquered, and the way they with the foreign trades and people codependent on America. That's how they was able to get in. And like you see it in Russia, and you see it all over the place. That white image everywhere. It's not just in Russia. You know what I mean? It's just not in just America. It's all over the place. It's in Africa.
Yeah, but
the most black
point is,
in the country on the world have a white image of Jesus, and most of them also don't even have a black image of Jesus. That's crazy.
Right. My point though is Russia did this for Russia.
Okay.
This is a Russian thing. They did it for them, and they painted themselves. And I can go to. I said we come back next week, and I can bring out the icon book. And we can look at them, and we can say, which one to definitively say. Oh, you could, like I say, just type in Russian icons. Like I'm sitting here strolling through now. You can look at them. this particular style of painting, putting that little dome around the top, that little gold dome around the top, painted on wood. That's this their thing. This is Russia. This is Russia's thing. Now I done seen the like the Black Madonna. I done seen a all black Mary that the Pope had, and we have to look into that. We have to look into what is that, or what does that symbolize, and why does he have that? But we can't just look at it and say, like, in that GMS video, you see how this dude has the who brothers may say, okay, well, this is a brother, this is about as that's about as good as it. If y'all can see my thing here, that's about as good as it get right here. But they say they went back in there, painted the white lines to try to make it look like his hair looks straight. And it's like it's like they did it for this is their thing. It's the Russian icons. You ain't gonna see nobody else valuing these things. Everybody else thinks this is idolatry. And if I could have played that video with the dude, the way he was saying it, and how he, he was explaining, and how he was singing, then chanting, certain chants you gotta chant while you painting it. This ain't just a painting. This ain't just I'm finna paint Jesus. This is something else. This is some idol stuff. Let me see if this will play.
Christ the Pantocrator as one example.
Hey, Shalakia, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
While that's trying to play, while y'all was talking, I just YouTubed the Dark Ages, and I got 4 different kind of
Icon
videos.
writing process. Icons are.
I got 4 different kind of videos. One talking about Charlemagne and the Vikings and the conquest and the conquering. I got one about Constantine forcing Europe to take on Christianity. That was in early 4th century. And then you got about the Moors ruled Europe. So, I guess it depends on the source, but it's a lot more out there than what meets the eye. So I think we probably need to go more down that rabbit hole, and we'll probably come upon some truth, some more truth, more accurate truth. But
right. And like
like
I say that it said the Dark Age is almost 1,000 years. It was like from 5th century to the 14th century.
Exactly.
And it's the question is just, why did they call it the dark? That's the only thing. That's what the article was named. Why did they call it the Dark Ages? Not necessarily everything that went on during the Dark Ages, but why does one call it that? Because even when things are going on, that don't mean they called it the Dark Ages. They didn't call it the Dark Ages till it was over with. Right. Until this individual coined this particular term. So, they might have called it the Dark Age. I had to go back and look at the article. They may have called them the Dark Age in the 18th century, 19th century. And they said, man, well, that period, we looking for something we can't find. Man, we going to call that period the Dark Ages. Then somebody said, we going to call it the early Middle Ages. And
I got one of the videos is titled that. One of the videos is titled that, the early Middle Ages, between 500 and 1,000. And it's a 4-hour long video.
It's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. And that's what I'm saying. I'm just scraping the surface. I'm just reading wiki articles and just basic Google stuff. Because I haven't seen anybody show me anything on the opposite view. And whatever would have came up, if I would have pulled up the wiki and I put it in Google and I seen they called it the Dark Ages because black people rule, that's what I would have clicked on.
Right.
I would have clicked on that. I just didn't see it. So, and on this, I didn't know nothing about these Russian icons. I didn't read the book. Everything I'm telling you is what I researched today. And I watch this little basic video here. It's easy to know these things. It ain't deep, deep. If you believe it, like you say, you don't trust the source. It's a thing of trusting the source. It's a thing of trusting the source. But I went in this knowing nothing, to be honest. But that these people did have a little shade on them. Just like this image here. It does have a little U on it, but like I showed earlier, they paint the whole face black first. And then bring in the highlights. And it's a reason, what they feel a spiritual reason, like they bringing in the light. And so the last white they put that's going around that circle, they call it the alpha circle. And they put that last white line, that's the last thing they paint around that, which is supposed to be a gold circle there, behind who they saying this is Christ. But that's how I didn't know that until then. I just had to go with what these folks say. I don't know. I can't talk. I can't call Putin and see, what he think about it. And that, this is just what these people, these people putting up this video is 11 years old. There ain't no, oh man, the black people see that we were painting them. Now they just putting this information out here because they thought it might be a good video. Or matter of fact, this is a museum of Russian icons. This is the name of this Joker channel. So I just, I'm just following breadcrumbs. It ain't, I don't have no, I wasn't led nowhere because I do have the book, but I didn't read a single page. And I know I'm not the only one that didn't read a single page. I know people bought the book for them pictures just like I bought the book for the pictures. But I know too, the pictures weren't as good as I thought they were going to be because I didn't take that book out there all the time. I wasn't showing it all the time because a lot of the stuff looked like this. Where, yeah, he got look like he got a little melanin going on, but he don't look like a Negro to me. And that's just my opinion. It may look like a Negro to you.
Are typically painted on boards made from linden, pine, or poplar wood. The wood must be minimally resinous, without any imperfections. It is dried for up to 2 years. The board is cut from the center of the tree with a vertical grain. Slats of a harder wood, inserted into the back of the board at the top and bottom, provide support and prevent cracking as the board expands and contracts with moisture. A recessed area, or kovcheg, is carved in the center of the board to create a raised frame around the perimeter of the icon. Kovcheg, or ark, refers to the Ark of Noah and the Ark of the Covenant. Traditionally, it is believed to separate the sacred world, paradise, from the secular world. Next, the sanding and scoring of the board prepares the surface for proper adhesion of the linen surface. Hide glue is applied next. Linen is affixed to the glue to provide a smooth surface for the application of gesso and to protect against the flaking of paint if the board cracks. The icon writer covers the board with several very thin layers of gesso, or a mixture of marble dust, chalk, and glue. The final layer is sanded. The finished gesso surface is completely smooth, almost porcelain-like. The composition for the icon begins on paper. Master icon writers often draw their own image, adapted from accepted conventions. Less experienced icon writers select a published image, or their teachers provide one. One method of transferring the image to the board uses carbon paper or powdered pigment affixed to the back of tracing paper. The transfer paper is placed on the board, and the icon writer uses a writing implement to trace the lines, leaving a faint outline of the image on the gessoed board. With many icons, the halo extends beyond the kovcheg to create a bridge between the spiritual world and the world of the viewer. Tracing the image with a sharp implement creates an incised rendering of the image. As the transferred lines are covered by layers of pigment, the incised lines remain as a guide. An application of clay bowl covers the edges of the board, as well as any area that will be gilded. Traditionally, the clay symbolizes mankind, or the earth from which Adam was created. Before the gold leaf can be applied to the bowl must be sanded and burnished. Layers of gold leaf are applied to the bowl ground. Gold leaf may cover the entire background or just a small area, such as a halo. To make the sheets bond to the bowl, the icon writer exhales on the bowl to create a thin layer of condensation to which the gold leaf can adhere. This action symbolizes the breath of life. After the gold leaf has hardened to the surface, it can be burnished or incised with a decorative pattern. Icons are painted with egg tempera, a type of paint created by mixing mineral pigments with egg yolk. Tempera dries quickly, making it particularly suitable for building up multiple thin layers of paint to create luminosity. It also lasts well with little fading over time. The first paint applied to the icon is the alpha line, which is red and typically applied around the halo. Sankir are the base layers that represent skin and hair, typically rendered in an olive green. Thin base layers of paint, called roskrish, are applied across the entire icon all at once. Following the traced and incised lines, the icon writer uses diluted pigments to block in the large areas of color. Colors are applied from darkest to lightest. Additional layers create the forms. The building up of layers in this manner creates luminosity within the icon. Floats, or nearly transparent washes of pigment, are painted over each highlight layer. Denser colors of pigment cover the incised lines of the composition. The addition of tiny details takes place at the very end of the process. A final highlight, typically bright white, is added to the icon. These life-giving lights, or ojivki in Russian, do not suggest or conform to any outside light source, but rather seem to come from within the figures. A thin border is painted around the outside edge of the icon board. The icon writer then inscribes the figure's name and other text that may appear on books or scrolls. In historic icons, such inscriptions are written in Church Slavonic, an archaic form of Russian. After the icon is balanced for final highlights and shading, a white line, or omega line, is painted outside the halo's alpha line. This is the last paint to be applied to the icon. To anoint the icon writer covers it with linseed oil, or oliva, to protect it and to heighten the luminous effect. Depending on the climate, it may take several months for the icon to dry completely. For the icon to be used for veneration in the Russian Orthodox tradition, a priest must bless it. The priest says a series of prayers and sprinkles the icon with holy water. The process of writing icons has remained largely unchanged for hundreds of years and is still practiced today in Russia and beyond. Though some of the symbolism inherent in the process is not visible to the viewer, its significance is crucial to the function of icons as objects of veneration.
All right, so listen. That's all I know. I don't even know what these folks are saying. I don't know who this is. I don't know how credible. I don't know if they have any degrees. But this is their tradition. It's a Russian icon. This is their traditions, and that undertone is there because they paint that brown first. That's what I'm concluding from my observation. I want to see if I can show you this first part, how this dude is talking about this darn Sabbath. But this is also another picture here what I showed earlier. and then we're gonna get up out of here. But you see how they started with that dark first, covered the whole face dark, and then they lighten it on top of that. You know what I'm saying? Maybe we could be confusing. Maybe he's not painting, he's not trying to paint no darn, he's trying to paint a white person. But he's painting it the way that these folks told him to paint it. Their tradition is to paint it, to make it look a specific way. Rather than people just point at the picture and saying, you know what, that's a brother, man. That brown hair, you got brown eyes. That's really enough for us a lot of times. Long as the hair don't look straightened. But this was, let's see if I can find this dude real quick and then we get up out of here. What he was saying was that it was a certain I just want y'all to see how they worship it. And you could probably get into why, when you go back and you watch that video, and it is AI. Ain't no, I think that's not disputable. It's an AI video. Somebody created an AI video and pretty much lied. Now, some of these things, some of them do look. I ain't gonna, like, I've seen some that do look like black people. They got that long nose, and it's kind of some of them are passable, but ultimately I think these people were painting this for themselves, and they were painting themselves. Like I was saying earlier, most people who gonna deal with their God, they gonna paint themselves. Even in Africa, it's just, even some tribes in Africa, when they paint it, they have a certain way, just like those African masks. You're not gonna find those masks nowhere else. You're not gonna find nobody carving them like that nowhere else. Because that's their tradition, that's their thing. And there's certain paintings I don't see, maybe they could, that was influenced in Europe, but even still, it'll be a European, it'll be a thing that's in particular in that Pacific area of painting Christ. I don't think Jews had paintings of anybody. I don't think they dealt with paintings like that. They might have had some skeletons, some skulls and stuff like that, terraform, but not no paintings. I don't think Jews were painting anybody, or putting paintings inside of their text. Let me just look at this dude who does it, and then
к тебе вослышение и Господи, воззвак к тебе, Господи.
Let me just see if I can get him in front of that thing where he was talking about how you supposed to do it, man. It's about right here. And they asked him, they was like, well, how you leave Russia? I'm gonna just tell you what he said. You're talking about the Sabbath, no working, no cleaning, no doing none of that stuff. But he was saying it was on Sunday. And he said you can't cut your beard. And he says they don't cut their beard. So I don't know if that's for all Eastern Orthodox. That's something I had to look into, just something interesting. And that they're using Sunday, they treating it as a Sabbath. They're not saying that, any day's the Sabbath or the Sabbath is done away with. They just saying it's Sunday. Like a lot of the reformists or this westernized church over here is saying. He's saying Sunday is the Sabbath, a day of rest, and he treats it that way. And he grows a beard. It's law for him.
in church books and church chants and things that are important for our culture. For some of the books I have, you can't replace their museum pieces, but I use them every day. For me, there's no such thing as it's a museum piece. No, it's not a museum piece. This is part of your faith. You use it.
And those pictures too, they have to be in a specific order. They have to be like they replicating a lot of these. That's why if you go and you look at the images, you'll see multiple of the same images. It's a specific order that they have to have them. They have them in also.
Baptism, funerals, everything that is absolutely needed for a layman or a priest is in this book. See how beautiful that one is? That's about 400 years old. This one is a miracle working. She saved a whole town from the plague. And it's called the Mother of God with 3 hands. If you notice, she has 3 hands. This is for the church
Well, I guess he
chants.
didn't
This has all your tones.
But he named it. It's called the Mother of God. And you know, they have these chants, and you know, it brought me back to, you know, you see the little hats, they do their chants. You see the Arabs, they do their chants with the Islam. And you see one West, we might sing we might chant I know you chant the Lord's Prayer, but it's a couple other ones that they'll chant it out. Westernized church kind of got a, well, I don't know, I wouldn't even say that, because I done been to some black churches where the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not fear, and you know. And then we were saying that the Lord is my shepherd. Anybody ever witnessed that? Anybody ever been around church that did that? No.
Lock it out. My bad, man. I had it on mute. Nah, bro, you got me on that one.
Yeah, like you'll say, man, you know, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want, and then we were singing, the Lord is my shepherd.
Good.
Y'all ain't never did that. Come on, man, now.
That sounds familiar. I remember.
They say, yeah, they'll make a little sentence, and you don't know what I never knew what they were saying, but I knew a person would say something first, and then they would say it. And then it was no music played. It was just some kind of chant like thing.
You don't do it like that no more too often. I think we caught their tail end. Yeah, man.
No, I don't see it. I don't see it. Well, I ain't in church but I ain't seen the last few years that I was in church. I ain't seen nobody do it. Y'all ain't seen nobody pull out that hymn book?
Oh, not with the music notes in it.
Yeah, but with the music notes in it, yeah. Yeah, brother Michael know what I'm talking about, man. Can't even find the page. You don't know where they at.
Господи, воззвак Тебе, Господи, воззвак Тебе, Господи, you light from the center, but you never stand in front of the light. You always stand to the side. Only the imperial emperor was allowed to stand here. We're only allowed to stand here when we start prayers. Otherwise, we have to stand on the side. This society is too fast.
And that's all I wanted to show y'all, is that, you know, the little bit, just a little surface level of, you know, the Renaissance, the Renaissance period, the Dark Ages, the Archaic period. What else we went over? I think that's it. Renaissance, Archaic, Dark Ages. Yeah, I think that's it. And we, the Russian icons. This they thing. This is they thing. And just to give a little more history on it. That these ain't things that they're just hiding in vaults. These things are all over the place. They got them in museums. Of course, every Israelite camp has a book of the Russian icons. They have the book. And you can look through there. If y'all wanna look through there, just let me know. Oh, we can do a video if you just want to look through there. I'll bring it up there, man. We gather next gathering. But this ain't no big secret, man. Even if they not hiding this. It's we seen the way that they're made. We seen the reason they're made, and we seen who uses it. With that, I yield. Y'all brothers have anything?
I just got one thing to say.
Our president Most High, like I say, man, the thing about this, the way we view things, the way that we approach it, hey, sometimes we gonna agree with the information, sometimes we'll disagree with the information for our own maybe our own biases. But all praises, man. Keep on doing what you're doing, man. Good lesson, brother.
Yeah, Shalaki, I just got one thing to say. My uncle's church, he started off by saying, I love the Lord. He heard my cry.
Yeah.
I love the Lord. He heard my cry.
Yep, that's it. That's exactly it, man. I don't know where that chanting came from, but that's exactly what I'm talking about, man.
Hey,
go ahead.
Hey, Shalaki, you about to beg you for the Eddie Murphy for your second chocolate. What? Don't you agree?
Oh man.
Oh. But we got to do these things, man. We have to look into these things. We have to provide information because there's gonna be greater things out here, man. It's easy. I know it's easy to like that Putin. It's easy to believe that. It was very easy for it's millions of people believing that video. And it may be because they want to believe it. They don't want to test it. And those who don't want to believe it, they gonna scrutinize it and they say, ain't it. But just me dealing with AI so much and knowing and kind of, operating with it, I know what it does. Like I said, I seen these jokers use a Jay-Z verse. They made Jay-Z rap that the Egyptians aren't black. This conscious community debate they having. And they had Jay-Z rapping some conscious rap, but they wrote it themselves. They made AI write it and use Jay-Z's voice. There's also a video out there with Trump saying that the 144,000 are almost sealed and the end is about to come. And it's Trump's voice. And that video has went viral. So we gonna have to get knowledge of certain. Go ahead, bro.
It says they are sealed. I'm sorry, Shalaki.
Oh,
it says the 144 is sealed. Yes.
Did you believe that video when you first seen it? Did you say, man, that's Trump, man?
Yes. Yes. I'm like, I'm gonna vote. I'm about to vote. But no, I ain't going.
That's why we gotta do this stuff because it's gonna get worse, man. This thing just beginning. You gonna see like this time they couldn't really align Vladimir's voice up with it. He's speaking Russian. They got us, and they got him speaking. He's speaking Russian, and they got him speaking English. Like he in his Russian accent, but speaking English. And they couldn't align it, but next time they'll be able to align it. They're gonna be able to put the video together, and this stuff is gonna be you ain't gonna be able to trust your eyes. As I said, we sit here going back and forth. Can we trust the sources? It's like, man, we finna get to a point we ain't gonna be able to trust our eyes, man. You're not gonna be able to trust what you see. Go ahead, Doc.
So like I was finna say, and it could be a form of warfare. Because in the type of strategies, man, a good strategy, he look at how to divide and kill a country from the inside out.
Right.
So I heard people saying that can be, a piece of the puzzle for a civil war. What I mean? I'm seeing that too. So it could be strategy, but it's some truth into it, some truth to it. Cause Christ is black. So when I walk to that fork in the road, I'm gonna go the way with the scripture. Even if it's strategy not coming from Puma. But I hear.
Hey, Shalakia, and that's the $1 million question. Why would that even be a strategy? Like to say like something as simple as saying that Christ is black. Why would that even be a strategy unless America is dealing with white supremacy?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where like you got millions of people going to churches for what reason? Would they? Oh, go ahead, bro.
When it's something with the communists? When the communists trying to do something during, and some of my, I ain't trying to call them, but some of those that lived during that time,
right?
Is the communists? I know the communists had something. They were doing something during Vietnam. They were trying to divide us some kind of way. Where jokers was trying to be communists or something.
They were dropping them pamphlets.
That. Oh, you talking about doing Vietnam? Doing Vietnam. Yeah, they was putting stuff out there like "Black man go home, it's not your war" and all that kind of stuff.
That's straight, yeah. Cause you mess around. That's why I don't know if y'all remember watching the movie on Netflix called The Five Blood. And when they was in Vietnam, the Asian lady came over, the Korean lady came over to loudspeaker and told them King had just got killed. And she was telling them, man, this ain't your war, y'all go home. And it did, and they wanted to turn on their fellow soldier. But he was like, no, man, we got, we can't do that here, man. We'll get court-martialed. But yes, the divide, conquer thing, man. They all playing off your emotion.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see it on that level, on the white supremacist level, and I could see it on just dividing Israel against Israel. I could see it on that level also, where you have one because that's happening too with the moderates and the camps, and there's a divide there. There's a beef there that's stirring, and a lot of this stuff is coming. Like if I had to say who made that video, I want to say the moderates made it. I don't think camps made that video. I don't think that we would go that low. We go low, but I don't think we go that low.
Man.
And I've seen them do some other stuff too, but I think the moderates do that. Go ahead,
The moderates very sophisticated, brother. They got videos.
They got that stuff, man. Yeah.
It just doesn't matter, brother. It just doesn't matter.
There's more evidence against them, man. The videos, they tech savvy.
Yeah, they very
a lot of the camps, we ain't tech savvy like that, man. Where we would put that together. But man, I yield with that, man. Y'all brothers got anything else? We gonna close this thing out, man. But again, y'all just let's go farther with it. We gonna have to dig deeper with these things. And understand that we don't know nothing. Like I said, I knew nothing about a Russian icon going into. I knew nothing about the Renaissance. I knew nothing about the dark history except what I was told. We have to go into these things, dig into these things. Don't just listen to what I'm telling you or what I read. go into it, do some research yourself if you're gonna speak on these things. But we having certain dialogues about certain histories and certain dispensations, certain time periods, and if we're doing that, we gotta kind of start researching and knowing about what's going on in those particular segments. A lot of the information that went on in the 70s and the 80s that we used, we got to go deeper. We got to go a little deeper into these things now. And I say it's gonna be more and more deep fakes. The deep fakes are gonna get better and better. And if we gonna guard ourselves and keep the sheep, we gotta start sharpening our sword with the history. Jokers calling themselves scholars, but we gotta start sharpening ourselves. I'm no scholar. We just gotta start sharpening ourselves with more information, man. And these things are, we have these phones in our hands. We have a plethora of information in there, and we just gotta sharpen ourselves a little better on these things as the more of the lies and deception starts spurring out. Anybody got anything in closing?
Lucky they made me think about even the very elect
God
shall be tricked. But
shall be.
off topic though. With that being said, y'all seen that Trump got a Bible, man? KJV, King James Version, Make America Great Again Bible, going for
Come on with it.
Yeah.
How much?
$60. Got the Constitution in there, the amendments and everything, man.
Yeah. Yeah, man. And the Bible really all the Bible mean is law. That's really, like, when you look at Deuteronomy just mean the law. You know what I mean? And so the whole Bible is a constitution. When you see what the Constitution of America is made of, it's made of laws. Same thing with the Bible. That's why even in the New Testament, you see Christ correcting, the scribes and Pharisees sit in Moses' seat, all they bid you observe and do. But don't do after they work, because they say and do not. Like the whole Bible is law. And so if somebody say, well, they got a Bible, that just means, hey, I got the law. And like you say, putting hey, make America great again. And I'm gonna be honest with you, right? Like when you really understand some of the principles that America is starting to adopt, hey man, you might be calling Trump a prophet. You might be the next coming, brother. No, I'm just joking, man.
It's like that hang 'em high Bible though. Huh?
Yeah.
Cause right they say, yeah, I love Jesus.
Yeah.
Make sure that rope tight on that Negro's neck. Hey man, hold on a minute.
Yeah. Hey, what period they going to make it great, brother? They going to the 18th century. I mean, what part of America is they talking about? Because I ain't trying to go too far back in American history, brother. But that year, brothers.
That's crazy. Is it red?
Lord.
I don't know. It had a brown cover. Could have been red.
Yeah. Yeah. He trying to get that money up, I guess, man. But
that's what they said.
Yeah, I yield with that. Israel. Y'all be blessed. Shalom.
Hey, shalom, family.